you very much for the introduction. I'm Sophie Fallah from CIRAIG in Canada, and I'm here today to present you with the key findings and the next step of Quebec's PCF Pilot Project. So here's a quick outline, but I'll go directly through the stuff. So a little bit of a context. Quebec's PCF Pilot Project has gone through a long journey, but it's all begun 3 years ago when the government of Quebec announced a $24 million new funding program aiming to promote Quebec-made products through the use of PCF certifications. Why certification? Simply to promote Quebec low-carbon energy grid and increase the competitiveness of Quebec businesses. Also, of course, to help attain our GHG reduction target. So, facing a relatively young field, PCF was seen as pilot phase was seen as a good first step in order to assess and explore what were the limitations of current international best practices, as well as to guide what were the subsequent developments in Quebec, eventually allowing us to ultimately decide whether it was feasible or not to roll out to a larger scale the pilot project, and to determine whether or not it was consistent to develop a certification of PCFs really specific to Quebec. So the main actors were, of course, the government of Quebec, who joined forces with CIRAIG, a research center specialized in life cycle assessment, as well as the Bureau de Normalisation du Québec, the BNQ, which is our standardization office, whose expertise lies in greenhouse gas accounting, well, not accounting, but more auditing and verification. We also had 12 pilot companies involved who worked closely with the consultancy firm. The pilot project mainly focused on quantification and verification aspects related to PCF. All issues related to communication, labeling, and certifications were also addressed, but much more at the level of literature review. So what we did, first of all, we had our 12 pilot companies who assessed the PCF of one or more of their products using the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, the Product Life Cycle Standard, and when available, some sectoral guidance or some PCRs. Afterwards, all assessments were going through a verification process combining two approaches. First, critical review, and then on-site data auditing. Critical review really aimed at verifying the compliance of the assessment toward the methodology and PCRs, as the on-site data auditing aimed at giving you a level of assurance whether one could get toward the results and the data. Afterwards, we wanted to explore a bit more in detail the issue of reproducibility and comparability of results, and in order to do so, we implemented a phase of methodological testing where we attempt at the recalculation of PCF results. Now let's go straight to some key findings, first regarding quantification and verifications. We confirmed some of intuitions that we had. One of them was that upstream and downstream primary data are first particularly difficult to collect, but moreover to verify. We also confirmed the fact that we did not see clear requirement as to how to verify a PCF assessment. We also found that having a dual component approach toward verification was of course time and resource consuming, but then again the objective of both critical review and on-site data auditing, even if their objectives are a little bit different, they're still complementary and they really helps to attain an exhaustive verification. However, it still leaves us with the question whether third-party verification can overcome, let's say, the flexibility that still some methodologies and PCRs still have. Now, regarding our methodological testing phase, we wanted to assess, as I said before, the reproducibility of results. So what we did was basically to ask two practitioners working independently we asked them to calculate the PCF of a product using the same methodological framework, using the same PCR, and having access to the same raw primary data. Afterwards, both assessments were going through critical review, and at the end, both results were compared and the differences analyzed. What we found is a problem with an animation here, but then again, we found that there was significant variation in some cases between the results of both assessments, and this was mainly due to the fact that PCR were not prescriptive enough on some key methodological issues. The main sources of differences were mostly the modeling of end of life, the modeling of the use phase, especially consumer behavior, as well as the source of secondary data. So here I'm speaking of the use of different databases. So the conclusions of our pilot project are that at the moment we feel that there's a need for more prescriptiveness regarding from the PCRs. We also feel that there's a need for the harmonization of high-quality databases, and that there's a need for more stronger requirements regarding verification. So at the moment, we feel that the current state of the art is not favorable to the development of a certification specific to PCF in Quebec. However, PCF is still deemed relevant and still brings multiple benefits and still a valuable tool for hotspots analysis, for decision making, for performance tracking, and for improving efficiency. So at the moment, we handed back our report to the government at the end of June, and at the moment, government is deciding how to move forward with the project. But in the end, the recommendations are still oriented toward the fact that we still want to contribute to the advancement of knowledge and to the harmonization of international best practices, and we want to provide Quebec companies with some tools in order to guide them into their journey towards sustainability and to help them take part in the journey towards sustainability. Yeah. So basically, this sums up what I had to say regarding the pilot project. Thank you very much for your attention. And I think it's the moment for the...
You can stay there.
Yeah, I can stay there.